The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus said to his disciples, "Be watchful, be alert. You do not know when the time will come. It's like a man traveling abroad. He leaves home and places his servants in charge, each with his own work, and orders the gatekeeper to be on the watch. So watch, therefore. You do not know when the Lord of the house is coming, whether it's in the evening or at midnight or at cockcrow or in the morning. May he not come suddenly and find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to all, watch. Watch. Pay attention. Be present. Come and know. On the floors of Tokyo or down in London town to go-go, with the record selection of the miner's reflection, I am dancing with myself. When there's no one else in sight, in the crowded, lonely night, while I wait so long for the love vibration, and I'm dancing with myself. Oh, dancing with myself. Oh, dancing with myself. Well, there's nothing to lose, and there's nothing to prove when I'm dancing with myself." Well, that song seems like it's ancient. It came out when I would think I was in high school. Billy Idol's "Dancing with Myself." It's a song that came to mind, that song, because I feel like as we enter into this Advent season, these 4 weeks of Advent before Christmas, which can be really crazy, and yet at a time when we're so busy and we're ramping up for Christmas and the world is a mess, we nonetheless, I think, know that there's something within us that's moving us through this season and maybe calling us. And so at times, if we don't pay attention to that, it might feel like, yeah, we are doing this by ourselves or moving in a way. There's an old story about the grande dame of modern dance, Martha Graham, that after one of her performances, which people didn't always fully understand, this was really different kind of dancing, that after one of the performances, a reporter comes up to Miss Graham and says, "Miss Graham, that was beautiful, that was really wonderful, but what did it mean?" And she looked at him and said, "Well, darling, if we knew what it meant, we would not have had to dance the dance." Okay, well, that might be a way for her to kind of opt out of any kind of full explanation, but I think she's also understanding that this may mean a lot of things to a lot of people, and it moves you differently, and let it be what it is. And there's something to that every time we step into a new part of our life or a new movement, it may seem like something we've had before, something we've experienced before, and yet there's always something new calling us to be who we are at this time in an ever-changing world and an ever-changing self, right? And I believe that's really true of the Advent season. As we reflect on Advent over these next 4 weeks, the church is asking you and I to step into an old season with rather regular rituals we've experienced in the past, readings we've explored before, and it's got a familiarity, it's even got a repetition to it. But as we step into it, it's like we're doing an old dance, but with a new us in a new situation. And the movements of that dance speak differently to us and call us to express and be something a little bit different than the last time we did that dance. If we knew what it all meant, we wouldn't have to do it. I think that's true with the church's season, especially Advent. If I understood exactly what this Advent was going to teach me, well, I wouldn't have to bother with it, right? But instead, I step into it with a bit of mystery, an openness, maybe an uncomfortable openness, because it's a season of expectation and hope. It's where we hear the stories of people who lived in worlds or circumstances where hope seemed pretty far off, where despair and all kinds of difficulties were common to them, challenges of all sorts. We will hear those stories through these 4 weeks of Advent. And you and I now live in a world that's terribly unpredictable. We have conflicts going on in the world that we thought had been resolved, and instead these old biases and hatreds get flared up again, and it's like 2 steps forward and 5 back. There are ways in which we can't predict what's going on, whether it's in the economy or whether it's in our politics or whether it's in just the way we seem to be with each other. Sometimes even our particular personal relationships are just in a very ambiguous and unclear place. So don't be afraid, you and me, to bring all of that into this season of Advent and to move with the movements of Advent that might allow us to pay attention to, as this gospel says, watch, be alert, to know that something may be coming as a gift or a grace for you and me in this holy season of Advent. And how and I, in the mix and mess of things, can I just open up some space to pay attention to what's moving me, where I am, and how maybe I'm being invited by God to move into something new, into something that I need and that I need in the world that needs something more. It's a bit hard to do that. Hope is, I think, a hard thing. It's a hard thing to hope. We don't always want our hopes to be too ramped up because they can be disappointing. They might not be realized, right? Well, that might be true of our expectations, but hope is a little more complicated, I would argue. We sometimes feel like it's out of our control, what's going on, so don't expect anything. Keep your expectations low. Okay, that's true for expectations. But the one thing about hope is it always surprises, and it always comes in where we don't expect it, and therefore we need to be open to it. We need to be watchful for it. This gratuitous, undeserved gift of hope that you and I may be able to get from God in any given circumstance. So let's not protect ourselves from an openness to that kind of goodness or grace that God's trying to offer you and me in this holy season. I think there's a way in which we and us and all of us may want to know how it is that God will work with us. But that's not how God works, and nor are our lives such, our persons and ourselves so predictable that it all could become kind of, mechanical or a well-defined plot. It's not the way life is. I like the Christmas break, which comes in the midst of Advent. First of all, there's exams for our students here on Hawk Hill, and talk about expectation and anxiety and whatever. And there are times I know that any number of our students walk into an exam hoping against hope that they'll be able to do okay with this, or they'll be able to pull that grade up, or there's a lot of that going on right now. You can feel it here on Hawk Hill among our students. And I remember my own experiences of that during exam week. And then they finish. And it's wonderful because the latter part of Advent and into the Christmas season and break, our students get to kind of recalibrate, and they can start a new semester in a whole new way. For you and me, it's probably not that easy. Life doesn't allow us these breaks and restarts, right? We have to keep going. And so Advent all the more, and the stories of the people that we will hear in Advent, as they keep going, you and I may need to pay attention to what's moving us, what's carrying us forward. How is it that you and I might feel pretty much like we're dancing with ourselves, that that's our only choice and opportunity or an offering, but that in the midst of paying attention to ourselves and what's moving us allows us to step forward, not alone, but with God, and knowing that others in this same holy season are aching in that same way with an openness to what God may give us. It's really in that ache that is core to us when we really, really need something, or really, really know that there's something important in our lives, and it's just a raw ache. That is the doorway to a true gift of hope. So friends, as we move into this holy season, as we may feel like maybe like our old friend Billy Idol, we are kind of dancing with ourselves, the gospel saying, yeah, but in that movement, pay attention, watch, be open with the very rawness and core of your being, and simply place that before God, and know that we do that not alone, but that we all are invited to do that together with God. And let's be open to see what this holy season of Advent could offer you and me, could teach us and allow us to dance an old dance in a new way. Welcome to our Advent journey here at St. Joseph's University community and all of our friends, our extended family. Welcome to this Advent journey. Join us for these reflections each week of Advent so that we may know how we're being invited to move with God's grace and God's gift of hope and be able to experience what we need to experience in the complexities and difficulties of our world and our lives, but to nonetheless understand that in all of that, God is present and real and really does offer you and I the graces and gifts we need. Amen.